Welcome to the Tippie Leads podcast. Stories from the University of Iowa's Tippie College of Business that will change the way you work and lead. I'm your host, Nick Westergaard. I teach at Tippie and lead our Story Lab program. Each season of Tippie Leads, we focus on a grand challenge in today's changing world of work. This season, we're looking at how you can be the CEO of your life. Surprise! Finals week is over. Graduation is done. Congrats to our grads at every level. But we're back with one more special bonus episode of Tippie Leads just for you. We know that even with a clear vision and a solid strategy, the biggest challenge for any CEO is the daily battle for the calendar. We've talked about habits and boundaries all season, but how do those two forces actually work together when the emails start piling up? To help you win that battle, we're sharing a featured session from our Tippie Lunch and Learn webinar series, Be the CEO of Your Calendar. This conversation brings together two of our favorite experts from earlier this season for a deep dive into the dual nature of time management. You'll hear from Rouwenhorst on how to say yes to your goals by building the right habits, and Michele Williams on the strategic discipline of saying no. Together, they share how to navigate the tension between what we want to achieve and the limits of our 24-hour workday. Ready to take back your calendar? Let's get started. All right. Hello and welcome to this month's Tippie Lunch and Learn webinar, Practical Insights from the University of Iowa's Tippie College of Business, served over lunch and ready to use right away. I'm your host, Nick Westergaard. I teach at Tippie and lead our Story Lab program. Today's special, being the CEO of your calendar. Now, because many of you join us over the lunch hour, we always get things kicked off with a shout out to a food-themed alum doing great work. Since it's finally time here in Iowa to fire up the grill, we wanted to showcase a Tippie alum who is fueling our backyard gatherings this season. Kiernan Cavanaugh, BBA of 2016, is the Product Development Finance Manager at Weber Grill, the iconic brand that has defined the outdoor cooking for generations. Just like mastering the perfect sear, finding professional success is all about the preparation you put in before the heat is on. Whether it's balancing the books, managing the details, or knowing exactly when the timing is right to make your next big move. Now, we'd love to hear your favorite food spots or alums with a Tippie connection. If you have a favorite restaurant run by an alum, let us know over there in the chat. Already see some greetings from Florida and a other link to an article about Kiernan as well. So before we dive into today's conversation, here's what's up next on the Tippie Lunch and Learn menu. May is National Small Business Month, and we are celebrating by highlighting Tippie alums doing big things with their small ventures. You'll learn how to grow your impact in small business, big impact with Bob Walker and a panel of alumni founders. They'll share practical ways to audit your business, build habits for sustainable growth, more on that in a bit, and master the entrepreneurial pivot. It's all coming up Tuesday, May 19th at noon. You can sign up via the link that will be in the chat as well. So if there's a topic you'd like to see served up by our Tippie faculty in a future session, you can let us know. Where else? Over in the chat. We love hearing your ideas. To answer one of the questions I see in the chat, today's session is being recorded and will be available on Tippie's alumni and lifelong learning pages, as well as our YouTube channel. Past webinars are free and open to the public, so feel free to share. Now, let's dive into today's main course. So last month, we kicked off season 4 of our podcast, Tippie Leads. The theme this season is focused on how you can be the CEO of your life. The idea is simple. The most effective leaders don't just lead their organizations, they lead themselves. Most of us treat our calendars like a series of obligations rather than a strategic asset. But the most effective leaders know that how you spend your time is the ultimate reflection of your priorities. To be the CEO of your life, you have to master two critical skills: knowing when to lean in with a yes and knowing exactly when and how to say no. Today, we're bringing together Associate Professor of Practice in Marketing, Rob Rouwenhorst, and Associate Professor Michele Williams from Entrepreneurship to help you audit your time and focus. Rob will start us off with the habits of yes, the small, consistent actions that create momentum and open doors to new opportunities. Then Michele is going to dive in with the strategic no, the relational science of setting boundaries and declining requests without damaging your professional reputation. We're going to have plenty of time for questions at the end. You can submit yours using the Q&A, that question mark button down below. That helps us moderate, organize, and get those questions to Rob and Michele. Now, without further ado, let's get it started. Take it away, Rob.
Nick, thank you so much for the introduction and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being part of this. And I think one of the key things that we all are similar at is we all have an equal amount of time during the day. All of us have 24 hours. The key thing is how you're going to spend it. And all too often, I don't know about you, but in society, I'll go out to dinner and everyone's on their phone. The entire family's on their phone. In the classroom, I see students are on their phone. And so Gen Z on average is spending anywhere from 7 to 10 hours on their screen. In terms of social media, it's an average of 5 hours for Gen Z, which is just incredible. And it does go down with the millennials and the boomers and the older generations that might be part of this webinar. However, we're spending just an inordinate amount of time staring at these screens, and it's having an adverse effect. I think we all can agree in terms of some of the effects, in terms of just Gen Z focusing in on the students that I interact with. And this is nationwide, not like a University of Iowa statistic by any means, but 44% are experiencing anxiety and depression. 10% will have suicidal thoughts before they graduate from college. And sometimes I feel like we're focusing in on the wrong things if there are these negative things that are happening in the background. And you got to ask yourself, well, why is that? And so one of the questions that I always like to start off when I begin the semester is this very simple thing. And we've got a poll prepared. So Nick, if you could start the poll for our audience. Very simple question, which is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, to what extent do you think you're living at your highest potential? So participants, if you could select a number that feels right. And then I think that's enough time. I don't want to spend too much time on that. Nick, can you close the poll and give us the results? There we go. All right. Now, I've done this for years, and usually I'll do it with hands with a large audience. I'll be like, how many nines and tens? And there are very few. Sevens and eights, and then there are more. What's funny, and I found this when I teach MBAs, the MBAs are happier than the undergrads. The undergrads tend to be in the 5 and 6 range, and then the MBAs tend to be in the sevens and eights, which is wonderful. I think that it means that, as you get older, you're kind of figuring out what you like, what you don't like, focusing in on the right things. However, I would make the argument that all of us, it's in terms of this kind of anxiety and depression for many people, it's kind of a complexity management issue. There are so many options, and you're kind of overwhelmed with choice that you're just like, what do I do? And so certainly for the undergrads, it's about, okay, what's my major going to be? They're trying to find love. For those of us that are older, it's what happens when my career goes maybe off path. Maybe I'm fired. Maybe I didn't get that promotion. divorce. Maybe I'm retired and it just becomes a question of, okay, how am I going to spend my time? And so the thing is, I don't see 0% put 10, which means we all can certainly improve in a little bit. And so then it's a key question of, again, in terms of time, how am I spending my time? What can I say yes to improve my life? Or what are the things that I can subtract and say no to? And so that's our webinar today, is kind of managing this complex issue. And so for me personally, this is a painful photo. This is when my fourth child, who is now 11, Elise, was born. And as you can see, one, I'm rocking the dad bod. I'm at least 50 pounds overweight. And two, I held onto that hair way too long. I should have been shaving it for about 2 years. So for me, I was like, okay, I wasn't sleeping right. I wasn't eating right. Exercise was a foreign concept. And so all of a sudden, I started swimming, and I would go swimming every day. And at first, I sucked. I needed to take a rest at every length. And I was just doing breaststroke. I couldn't do any more. Then I got faster. Then I started doing crawl. Then I started stop taking breaks. Then I started doing flip turns. Then I looked quasi-professional. Then I started to question myself, hey, why am I going home and eating a giant pot of pasta? Maybe I should eat this new thing called a salad. And then I was like, hey, how do I optimize sleep? And I just started optimizing my entire life, starting about 10 years ago. Lost the weight, obviously lost the hair, so I haven't conquered everything, but I feel incredible. And so I read this book, and I don't know how many of you have read this, but it's a very popular book. It's been on Amazon's bestseller, most read list for now years, over 25 million copies sold. James Clear, Atomic Habits. It's something that I would recommend to you all. And I thought this was a phenomenal book. I thought this is kind of the science behind what I had just found myself doing in my own life. And then I was teaching a small class one time, and as part of an assignment, I said, yeah, everybody's got to read a business book. It can be a biography. It can be, as long as it's related to business. Now, somebody asked, hey, can I do Atomic Habits? And I was like, it's not really business, but, sure, it's a wonderful book. So they gave this presentation, and then at the end of the presentation, I said, we're given a quiz. I say, no points, no nothing. Just write down a habit that you want to do, because we had talked about this Atomic Habits, and people wrote, I want to cut down on social media. I want to drink more water. I want to learn to play the guitar. All these great habits. And the next week, I say, okay, how many of you accomplished the habit? And two-thirds of the people accomplished the habit. I vibed with that class almost more than any other class that I've had. And I was like, okay, maybe I should change this up. Maybe I should focus in on habits and leading your best life. That's like 2%. Again, I'm a marketing professor. So like 98%, 99 is still instructing them in terms of marketing. But it became kind of their overall life and goals. And I've had multiple people quit smoking. I've had a ton of people lose weight. I've had people have better relationships, especially the MBAs. The one that really got to me as somebody for their habit was, when I come home, I'm going to decompress in the car and listen to music for 5 minutes so I don't yell at my kids. And it's just this really simple prompt on a weekly basis of what's something that you want to do that has been life changing for some of my students and certainly for myself. And so my mission in life switched years ago after this one class in terms of helping students become better versions of themselves, full stop. It used to be I'm focusing in on your brain and one side. Now it's this overall life changing, hopefully for some, addiction of helping students become better versions of themselves. So 3 key objectives for today's webinar for me is what to focus in on in terms of habits, how do you build lasting habits, and then finally, how do you break the bad ones? Because we all have bad habits. And so the contention is you're a lagging measure of your habits. Your finances are how much you save on certainly a daily, weekly, monthly basis, how clean your apartment is or house, how are you cleaning it on a daily, weekly basis, your relationships, how much quality time are you spending, your body, what are you putting into your body in terms of food and liquids, how are you exercising, all of this, it adds up. And again, we all have the same amount of time during the day. It's just a question of how you spend it. And so my question for all of you, and I've got the chat open, what habits lead to a better life? You can type in one, you can type in multiple. I'll give you one to kind of prompt you. Sleep, like we're all sleeping, let's say 6 to 9, whatever, they always come out and somebody will say 8 hours or whatever. And individuals vary. But so sleep is one. What other, if you were to, try and do the whole 10, living life to the max, Work-life balance, presence, family, routines, friends, being outdoors, that's a popular one. Love it. Outlooks, putting the phone away, like it. Reading, meditation, water, self-care, love it. Hugs from family, love it. Absolutely. And so, again, I've been doing this for several years now. And so I've had thousands of students because I teach kind of sometimes large lectures. And so I'll ask them this, and it comes down to a few things basically sleep, food, exercise, relationships, significant others, friendships, that sort of thing, work or passion, hobbies, that sort of thing, learning, being better, improving your mind, some sort of spirituality, could be meditation, being outside, religion. And then it gets tough. It's just a few things in terms of maximizing your life and living life to its fullest. And it's a question of, okay, what's something that I can say yes to? What's a habit that I can do? What's something that I can improve on in sleep, in exercise, in spirituality, in whatever it is that's going to help you lead your best life? And so the aggregation of marginal gains. So the guy, the bald guy in the car, David Brailsford. David, at one point in time, he was in charge of the British cycling team. And the British cycling team was so bad, no equipment manufacturer wanted to work with them. And so David called it the aggregation of marginal gains. And the aggregation of marginal gains was, how can we improve one little percent? What's something that I can just do on today to improve a little? And so they would do things like he would when's the last time any of us bought a pillow? My guess is it's been a while. And so he would have his athletes test like six different pillows, a dozen pillows, and then you would find the perfect pillow for you. Um, and so it was just little tiny tweaks in terms of how can we get better. Let's have a surgeon come in and teach everybody how to wash their hands. And if we wash our hands, then hopefully we don't get sick as much. And so again, little tiny tweaks and things that most people aren't thinking of. Again, people are thinking of training, people are thinking of equipment, people are thinking of food, but they're not thinking of pillows. And so he was obsessed with the aggregation of marginal gains, these little tiny things that you can do to improve your life. And so for us, it's things done on a daily basis. If you walk 10,000 steps, that's 70 marathons a year. And mad respect for everybody that wants to run a marathon. But again, it can be just simple things on a daily basis. Your average American, depends on the study. Some say, your average American reads like one book. And so again, reading 20 pages a year, there's 30 books. And so again, improving your mind, being a better version of you. It's how you spend your time on a daily basis. And so one of the main contentions out of the book Atomic Habits is forgetting goals but building systems. And what James Clear means by that is goals are great. He's not knocking goals, but it's the actual systems, the actual little tiny habits, how you're spending your time on a daily basis, what you're saying yes to, that lead you to actually accomplish those goals and those big, big things. So in terms of creating great habits, it comes down to three things: making it specific, making it easy, and making it rewarding. So when it's specific, oftentimes people will be like, oh, I want to sleep better. Wonderful. It's a great goal. I think that for me, again, I wasn't sleeping so great way back when. And so then it's a question of, okay, how can I make this super, super specific? And so a framework for super specific is I will engage in some behavior, do something at or in a certain location. So for instance, if it's going to be sleep, then it's I'm going to go to the bed at the same time. I'm going to wake up at the same time. I'm going to turn off the phone or the computer or the blue light or whatever, half an hour before bedtime. I'm going to get a physical book, half an hour before bedtime. I'm going to read. Maybe it's something related to, what you're consuming in terms of liquids or when you eat. Certainly digestion has a big influence on sleep. Exercise has an influence on sleep. And so there are so many things that you can do and say in terms of being very, very specific in your system, in your habits, that's going to lead to this bigger goal. So first and foremost, making it very, very specific. Next thing is making it easy. And so Kurt Lewin was a psychologist in the 1930s, and he comes out with Lewin's equation. And I love this. For those of you that are fans of Daniel Kahneman, he viewed this as the greatest contribution to all of psychology, which is behavior is a function of people in their environment. Now, as marketers, we love this phone. This is the most persuasive technology we've ever invented. We can control the environment. We can manipulate what you see and nudge you to do things. On the flip side, in terms of being a better version of you, you can make your environment, you can tweak your environment, make things easier to accomplish or harder. All right. And so I did some work with Google years ago, and they don't allow phones in because they don't want secrets stolen. But I said, can I take a photo of this? Because I just find it so fascinating. All of the Google headquarters have refrigerators, but the glass is customized. And at the bottom, as you can see, the glass is a little bit frosted. And the glass is frosted because that is where they put the quote, unhealthy drinks. And so just that little bit of friction means that people are less likely to consume the pop as opposed to the water. And so environment beats willpower. How you construct your environment can lead to good things. So making it obvious. If you want to become a runner, you have a goal of running a marathon, half marathon, and you need to do it on a daily basis, putting your sneakers, your running shoes right by your bed. You get up in the morning and there are your sneakers. You're probably going to put them on. You're probably going to start running. So again, make the thing specific, make it easy to do. Again, in terms of starting habits, don't be like, oh, if you've never run before, you've never swam before, don't be like, I'm going to go swim a mile. It's too big a goal. Saying I'm going to go run, 3 miles or even 1 mile, especially if you've never done it, it's tough. So making it super, super simple, making it easy, making it, I'm just going to put on my shoes, and then you put on your running shoes for a week, or you just get in the pool and you start getting in the pool on a daily basis, and then you might go for, 3 laps, 2 laps, whatever, just starting the habit small and then growing. Is what the research says is more successful for more people. Again, there's individual differences, but again, starting it very, very simple, making it easy. And then the final thing is rewarding. So you make it specific, you make it easy, you make it rewarding. Rewarding will change. So again, when I was overweight, couldn't swim, my reward would be I would go home and I'd have this giant pot of pasta with garlic and butter melted on it, Parmesan cheese. It was delicious, everybody. But then I started to question it. I was like, oh my gosh, this I'm losing weight by the swimming, but I'm also gaining it back. Maybe I shouldn't carb overload myself. And so then the rewards can change. Maybe it's a cookie, maybe it's kind of a, shall we say, a negative thing. But again, eventually it becomes like this woman of just posing in the mirror and feeling good about yourself. And so rewards change. But again, making sure that you reward yourself for accomplishing your daily habit, your weekly goal, whatever it might be. And so again, specific, easy, rewarding. Now, again, that's in terms of forming good habits. Same formula can be used to help break bad habits. So again, in terms of the phone, making it, which is kind of almost, I feel like a universal. I think I've had people be like, oh, I don't have enough time. And then universally, I'll say, show me your screen time. I've never had anyone show me their actual screen time when they say I don't have enough time. But majority of people pick up their phone first thing in the morning. And, I view email as other people's to-do list for me. So it is not my go-to. I have it in a completely different floor of my house, making it hard to accomplish. And so if you want to get rid of bad habits, again, making it hard, making it difficult, not making it easy, again, tweaking your environment, back to Lewin's equation, is one way to kind of get rid of bad habits. And so one bad habit, especially with the phone, I feel like there was a famous psychologist, B.F. Skinner, a behaviorist. And so he said, in terms of Skinner's box was there's a rat in a box and he presses a lever and gets a food pellet. And so what he found is when it's random schedules of reinforcement, you don't know when things are going to occur. You hit that lever a bunch. And so when we don't know if we've got email, when we don't know if somebody's favorited our tweet, when we don't know all these things, we're really hitting that lever. And so again, cut the distractions, cut out the notifications, focus in on the great habits. And so focus in on kind of those 8 things from exercise, sleep, behavior, meditation, family and friends, work, passion, etc. Build the lasting habits by being specific, easy, and rewarding, and then breaking the bad habits through kind of customizing your environment. Because at the end of the day, all of us are the same, only our habits differ. And so, final thing for everybody, I was one last thing in terms of recommended reading. Definitely, Atomic Habits is a wonderful book. This is a new one. Jim Collins, the author of Good to Great, wrote a book in terms of what to make of a life. This is for those of you that might be older, facing either career change, divorce. You're a little bit older, and you're trying to figure out, how do I navigate the fog of life or these drastic changes? Wonderful book that just came out this past month. And then another final book for those of you that are younger, The Defining Decade, Why Your 20s Matter and How to Make the Most of Them. So that's my deck in terms of, how do you say yes to things? How do you create great habits? How do you focus in on the things that are going to lead you to be the best version of you? But in order to make time for all that, you need to say no to things. And so I'd like to turn things over to my colleague, Michele Williams, to talk more about the no and making time for the important things. Michele.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm really excited to be here. Saying no is one of my passions. If you have a day anyway, anything like mine used to be, people are constantly coming to you, asking you, can you help with this? Both at work, can you take on this extra task? And also in your community life. So they might be asking you at church, at your child's school. The one thing that I remember is when my daughter was young, I was getting up. I got up one morning at 5 a.m. It was during rush time for the semester because it was near Christmas time. And I made Rice Krispie treats in the shape of a donut because my daughter had a lot of food allergies. And at her school, they were doing the game where you hang the donut on a string at a party, but she couldn't eat donuts. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way. I was at that time a working parent. There were a lot of people, in my daughter's class whose mothers stayed home and had a lot of time to coordinate this. And what I realized is we need to take a different approach to requests, right? And I'm going to tell you a story about a nurse. She had a subordinate who had a lot of trouble getting all their paperwork and charting done. And she, as the supervisor, was helping this nurse out. And when one Friday afternoon, when she was walking by the person's office, she realized that the person was not doing her own charting, but sitting there doing a side hustle on eBay while she was doing the person's work. So sometimes we're saying yes to something, we feel guilty, we feel like we're responsible, we're the supervisor, but we're not really helping the person. So let's dive in. I want to take just a moment to tell you about myself. The reason I'm looking at saying no is not only because of my personal experience, but I've been teaching negotiation to MBAs, executives, startup founders for years. And here at the Tippie College of Business also. And negotiation is really a tool that you can use in terms of leadership and in terms of what do you say yes and no to. So I think about it more as how do you have the right response to these requests? I love innovation and problem solving. And when you think about your life and what you're going to say yes and no to, you can think of yourself as a problem solver instead of a person who's saying yes to a lot of things that either don't serve you or are preventing you from reaching the goals that you are interested in. So today we're going to talk about the challenge of saying no. Why are you saying yes all the time? A lot of people on the line here went to college at Iowa, so you know the Iowa nice. So there is a big challenge of saying no. We're going to talk about the yes reset. So how do we think about yes differently to make it easier to say no to some things and yes to the right things? And then we're going to talk about the right no regret response. You want to be able to not regret and not resent the yeses you say, and you want to be able to say no without guilt. Okay, so the first part is the challenge. We always heard nice guys finish last. And you've also probably heard of the book, Women Don't Ask. The irony is maybe women don't ask. They're asking more and more as time goes on. But women are asked to do so much. And you may have heard of this idea of office housework. So women are not only asked to do their job, they're asked to do things like ordering food, coordinating all of the engineering documentation for a project. So a lot of the things that keep the organization functioning but are not rewarded in any way, women are looked to do those kinds of things, or scheduling the time for a meeting, those types of things. So how do we say no, or make sure that those things are at least spread around all of the people in your team or in your part of the organization? Now, why do people say yes when they really don't want to? So I want you to think of a time when you said yes, and immediately as that word came out of your mouth, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, right? Everybody has that experience. Here are some of the main reasons people fear saying no. They don't want to be disliked. They don't want to appear too aggressive or not a team player. Uh, they don't want to be unfair because is the work being distributed fairly? They don't want to deal with the other person's negative emotions. So basically, saying yes prevents that difficult conversation. They feel guilty about not, for instance, not coming in for extra hours, not staying late to do another project. They fear being insulted, for people will be angry with them and insult them. And a really big one is the fear of missing out. If I say no to this opportunity today, will my boss or the senior leadership never ask me to be on a committee again? And am I hurting my career in the long run by saying no at this one time? So I'd like to take a moment, and we're going to do a poll. These are the top answers people often give for saying yes when they really want to say no. So please take a moment, answer the poll. Do you fear being disliked, being unfair, dealing with another person's negative emotions, feeling guilty, or missing out? I'm going to just take a moment to wait for those poll answers. And now I'll have Nick, can you share those answers? Okay. So here we have feeling guilty, number one, and fear of missing out. And this comes in second with 24%. And these are the biggest two. I found this I've talked to groups of doctors at medical centers. I'm doing a evidence-based practice talk tomorrow at the hospital. I've talked to teams of engineers, entrepreneurs, and feeling guilty is number one, especially number one with people in healthcare. And then of missing out is often number one with people in the corporate space. So we're going to talk about some strategies now that can reduce those fears and make you feel and give you the confidence to be able to say no and yes. Okay. So I call this the right response. A lot of times people think they're asked a request. Can you stay late? Can you do this extra report? Can you volunteer for Sundays, this or that? You think that the choices are yes or no. Those aren't the only choices. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how do we think differently about that request. We often feel alone when those requests come in. We look around, we think everybody else is saying yes. We think everybody has more time than we do. They're doing it all. Why can't I fit this in without losing sleep, right? So we're losing sleep. We're not going to medical appointments. We're doing things that are sacrificing our health to meet these requests of other people. So I'm going to argue that there's two shifts that we need to make. One is the yes reset. When people come in, instead of that automatic yes that comes off our mouth, we're going to think a little bit more about it and reframe and understand what that yes means. Is the yes always the kindest, nicest thing to do? Sometimes it's really not. And then we're going to talk about the right response. What is the right response for you that fits with your values, your priorities, your goals? So goals, when Rob was talking, a lot of people wanted to spend more time with their family, get more sleep. Are you saying no to things that prevent you from reaching your goals? Okay, So the first reset, yes, reset, is reframing no. A lot of times we don't say no because we think we're being selfish. We think we're not being a team player. But really, saying no can create value for yourself and others. So saying no can be kind. So what do I mean by that? When you say no, you can provide others with an opportunity. So if you don't do that, if so, your boss comes to you and asks you, can you go to this charity event and speak? If you say no, someone else in your organization gets the opportunity to do that. And they may be someone who really wanted to do that. They get to showcase their skills on maybe on a committee. They may get to learn new skills. They may get to broaden their network and meet people that you already know, and they may become more self-reliant. We have no problem saying no to our kids when we think there's a skill they need to learn themselves, right? So think about when your child was, 4 or 5 years old. Can you tie my shoe? You'd be like, no, I'll sit here and wait the 3 hours it takes you to tie your shoe because you need to learn how to tie your shoe. But it's the same with people at work. So we need to think about the positives that come from saying no. And I'll tell you a story about a woman who helped out one of her subordinates with paperwork at the job. And they were an excellent employee, other than really not being able to organize their paperwork. And so the boss helped her out, and she thought she was doing a great thing. That employee got a promotion because of their great work. And when they were promoted, within 3 months, they were fired because they couldn't keep up with their paperwork. So that boss had never taught them how to organize their time, maybe how to use atomic habits to get that work done. And so they felt terrible. They thought they were helping, but they were really undermining that person's ability to advance. Okay. The second no reset is you need an absolute no. A lot of times you don't say no because you can't think quickly enough of how to say no or what is the excuse you want to get. Now, you've probably heard the term or the phrase, no is a complete sentence. Yes, but it often doesn't work. You often don't feel good, just like no, and you walk away. That doesn't work. So no may be that you say no and there's no other alternatives, but often the person isn't coming to you because you're the best, most ideal person to do this task. They're coming to you because you always say yes. So it may be that you can suggest an alternative way to do this task, or someone else. You can say, when someone says, can you do this? You said, wow, that sounds great. Why don't we go have coffee and talk more about your problem and figure out who is the best person, or what are the other options that person has other than just having you do it. Now, the other thing you need to be able to say no clearly and kindly, and you need to have kind of a no vault. What are the ways that you feel comfortable saying no? If you type how to say no kindly into ChatGPT, they will give you a ton of ways to say no. There's also articles, but you have to get the no that feels right for you. So here are just a couple examples. I'd love to join you, but I'm feeling a little overwhelmed with work right now. Everyone's felt that way. Reasonable answer. I'm sorry, but the timing isn't good right now. Do you mind keeping me in the loop for next time? Now, don't say that when you never want to do that particular task, right? Because they're going to come back to you, and then you've got to say no again. So that's a good one if it's something that you have the fear of missing out, right? You really would like to do it. The timing doesn't just work now. And I'm going to just read one more of these. How about you try it on your own first, and then I can help? Right? A lot of people come to you because you're an expert, you're the go-to person, you can do it more quickly, but then they never learn how to do it on their own. And if they tried and then they did it with your help, they would become more self-sufficient. So make sure you have a set of ways to say no. The next thing I want you to think about is the power of the pause. When someone asks you to do something, you often say yes or no right away. If you pause, amazing things can happen. There's two reasons you want to pause. One is that sometimes you're not even asked to do something. You volunteer. You're sitting in a room, someone says, well, who can do X? And nobody raises their hand. And so you sit there and you're like, well, I could do it. And you raise your hand. You volunteered yourself. No one even asked you to do that. You've put another thing on your plate. The other power of the pause is sometimes the people who want to do it are shy and they don't speak up as quickly. So I remember a time there I was asked, could I do this speaking engagement? I could do it. It was easy. I had the slides ready. But what I thought to myself is, well, I'm going to wait. The email came in at like 6 at night. I said, I'm going to wait till the morning to respond. By the morning, someone else had responded. And it was someone that I then knew they had been probably wanting this opportunity for a while. But because I was the first one asked or I would respond quickly, they never got that opportunity. So thinking about that pausing as something that gives you space and gives other people opportunity. I want to just, before we go on, put a QR code up for the no quiz. So if you feel like you might have a fear of saying no, that you might not be confident in saying no, the quiz, that's the black QR code on your screen, you can take that quiz and you'll get a score to see your confidence score and your score on saying no. I will put this up again at the end of the talk so that if you don't get a chance to take the quiz now, you can take it at the end when we're doing questions. You can also see some Getting No resources on my LinkedIn page. The only reason I put a QR code up there is there are so many Dr. Michele Williams, you would not believe it. And so you'll never find me. You'll probably find a dentist or a nice therapist, but you won't find me. Okay, so the yes reset number 3 is critical. And this comes from my experience as a teaching negotiation. Shape the ask. When someone asks you, they're asking you in the way that they think is easiest or for the solution that they've come up with. So if you pause, have lunch with them, or to ask them to tell you more, you can shape the ask, right? So I remember I was asked to give a keynote presentation. It was at a hotel. I really wanted to do it. It was right up my alley, but my husband was out of town on a business trip, and I had 2 young children. They weren't that young; they were like 10 and 6. But I couldn't leave them at home for several hours while I went and gave a talk. And so I asked the venue. I came back and I said, I need a hotel room for the day of my talk. I need it was local to where I was. I lived in a city at the time. I need a hotel room that my kids can go in and order a room service and stay there for a few hours while I give the talk. And the venue, I mean, they came back with a yes so fast. It was a no-brainer for them. But had I not asked, I just would have turned that down. So we can shape what are the timing of things and the different conditions. I call this the negotiator's no. So this is not a hard no. This is let me find out more. Give yourself time and space. It's the pause to, if this request is something you want to do, can you negotiate? Can you talk about it? Can you adjust it to make it something that's a heck yes for you instead of I'm really resenting this or this is really difficult for me. Also, you may find out when you ask for more information, it's something you do not want to do. So I remember I was asked to do a panel. They're like, it's just an hour. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. I could moderate this panel. Then when I asked them a little bit, but I didn't say yes or no right away. I said, tell me a little more about it. They said, oh, well, this is the panel. These are the guests. And then they said, yeah, and then we're going to have a 2-hour meeting, with the other panelists to figure out what the questions are, and then we'll have another 2-hour meeting right before it. And I was like, that was 5 hours. I didn't have 5 hours. I had the 1 hour to do the panel. So that went from something that would be an easy yes to a hard no, because the real ask behind that initial 1 hour was just too big for me to take on at that point in time. So if you're going to use a negotiator's no, you need to bring your negotiation A game. You need to aspire. I have these 4 A's, but aspiring, the negotiators who do the best in repeated study after study are the ones with the highest aspirations. So when you have high aspirations, you negotiate harder. They have to be high but realistic. So you're not asking for $1 million to work at Starbucks, but high but realistic. You are likely to do better. You need to analyze the data. What do you know about this what do you expect their outcomes that they're looking for? What are the different opportunities? You need to ask more questions, right? What what are they asking? What are the details of it? The more information you have, the more opportunity you have to come up with a creative solution. And you have to assert. People think that when you negotiate, coming to a compromise is a good solution. Coming to a compromise is never a good solution, because if you are assertive, if you kind of stick to the things that are really key to you, and the other person does, it forces you to come up with a creative solution. It forces you to come up with a solution that's a win-win for both people. Otherwise, everybody gives in a little bit, and you end up with a meh solution instead of a great solution. So this is what we call illusory conflict. When you go into these difficult conversations, a lot of times you think this is going to be a conflict. This is going to be something where, if I get a bigger slice of the pie, they're going to get less pie. But the thing you really want to do is think about making a bigger pie. What are the things that we could do? Changing the time of the event, changing the venue, changing the timing, saying to your boss, oh, you'd like me to do this? I'd be happy to. You've also asked me to do A, B, and C, but I can only do one this week. Which is your priority? And then they may say to you, oh, I don't even want you to do C, which I asked you. Or they may say, oh, this is the priority. You can put off the other things till later. And then you don't have three things to focus on right now. You have one thing. So framing that situation differently for the person is critical. Okay, so our last part here is the right response. We want a response to a request that you don't resent it. You're not saying yes to something you resent. You don't regret. You could regret saying yes. You can regret saying no. We want no regrets. We want no damage to your relationships, no burnout. You want to end up with power, focus, and professional respect. And this last piece is checking that request for alignment. Is it aligned with your goals, with your values, with your passions? So is it going to prevent you from getting more sleep, from doing exercise, from going to that doctor's visit? So goals that are really important to you. Is it something that that you value? And the way you can kind of think about that is the way you kind of start to keep a little notebook of that, which is what I recommend, is doing a yes audit. Think about the things you have said yes to in the past, and how have you felt about them in terms of your energy level, in terms of did you resent them or not? So I'm going to put up a little grid. I have a Yes Audit app that I just created, but it's in beta now. But it basically, you write in the things that you've said yes to from your boss in your personal life, and it will put them on this graph. So if it's something, I say the high energy you revel in, and it was energizing. When you left that, you're like, I'd like to do that again. Those are the heck yeses. When you identify those types of things, you can say yes to more of those. That's where your yeses should go. You've probably also done things that were de-energized, you were drained, you got home, you just sat in front of the television, you were so tired, and you resented and regretted that. You now avoid that person who asked you to do that because that was a horrible thing. So that's a heck no. That's where you use your vault of ways to say no. But then there's a lot of things that are kind of meh, right? You really revel in that opportunity. It's something you wouldn't want to miss out on, but it's de-energizing. So it's really not allowing you to have the time and energy to do the things that you want to say yes to and make your life a 10. On the other hand, there are things that are energizing. So they were really exciting, but you really regret doing it. You regret what are the opportunity costs of that? What are the things you had to give up to be in that place? And so what I would say on those two things, this is where your negotiation, there's our heck no, but this is where your negotiation comes in, right? So what you want to do is, if it's misaligned, it might be misaligned in terms of your values, it might be misaligned in terms of timing. Those are the things you want to negotiate. And you want to negotiate them in a way that pushes them to a heck yes or heck no. You want to be able to, when you find out more information, even say, oh, no, this is not going to work out for me. Or you may say, okay, if we make this one adjustment, this is something that would be perfect for me. I'd love to be on that committee if we could meet once a month instead of every week, right? And so that is your goal. Your goal is just keep a notebook, write down the things you said yes to, and what was your after you did those things, what was your response, right? Were you energized, de-energized? Did you revel in it? Did you resent it? So that you can start to know what things you need to negotiate and what things you need to say no to. So I want to thank you. This has been great. I really hope to hear from you. Here again is the quiz and LinkedIn. So please contact me. I also have a summary handout of the things that we've discussed today. So if you just send me a DM on LinkedIn that says handout, I will send you a link to that. Thank you so much. I'll
All
turn it back
right.
over to you, Nick, for
Yes.
questions.
Thank you, Rob and Michele, for your insights. Now it's time to bring your questions to the table. You can drop them in to the Q&A feature. That's the question mark icon down below. We have a few that were pre-submitted, and I don't have these tagged as yes questions or no questions, so we'll kind of treat them like a jump ball here. How do you ensure every daily activity directly advances your core mission and goals?
I'll give that to you first, Rob.
Does sound a little habity.
It is. I mean, okay, so then how do you ensure that, well, you're trying to figure out what are the habits, what are your goals?
Right.
And so, I think it is just breaking down things and trying to be as simple and as specific as possible. It can be the kind of the 8 things that I went over in terms of exercise, food, work, passion, relationships, etc. And then you just break down, okay, am I doing something in all of that? And if I am, wonderful. If I'm not, then I think that you got to think about, Michele's wonderful advice in terms of reframing no is creating value for yourself. You're giving time to suddenly do more of the things that, are hopefully going to advance your vision in terms of a personal matter or in terms of work. What's the vision? What's the goal of the company, and what are you trying to actually accomplish? And so then, once you know that, what's the North Star? Then how do I take the baby steps that are going to get me to that North Star?
So we've talked about yeses and nos. Liz in the chat has a question about, can you comment about the phrase, I don't know? She says, I see this as the coward's response because it already has the word no in it, sort of. It doesn't serve you well, and it doesn't serve the person asking well either. So, are we right to cast out the I don't know when it comes to a yes or a no?
I Yes, I think that there's two ways to think of it. If I don't know is the start to let's have a discussion about this, let me check my calendar and get back to you, then it's a pause, right? But if the I don't know is you really want to say no, but you feel uncomfortable saying no, then that does a disservice to yourself because it stretches out this process of saying no. And you may end up just feeling like you have to say yes because then you've waited so long to give them a response. And it does a disservice to the person who asked because they can't move to the next person and they can't figure out another solution to the problem because they don't really have an answer from you and they're waiting on you. So definitely, I don't know should not be should only be a prerequisite to setting up a time and trying to help that person problem solve.
Ross in the Q&A asks, what's the non-influencer answer? Pen and paper or apps and devices for getting stuff done and staying aligned? I'm going to sneak in with my answer because I'm a huge pen and paper note fan because you can't possibly keep up with everything and it makes you synthesize the incoming information once already. So you're encoding and not just being a court stenographer. But what say you both?
Okay, I'm going to pass. I'm going to give my response, which is what I love, and then I'm going to pass it over to Rob. So there's two things I like. One is I am definitely a pen and paper person. I have notebooks upon notebooks. But what I've started to do is take pictures of my notes and I have them in an app called Evernote and I have them organized because I do appreciate the encoding from the writing, but to keep it organized, having a document form really helps. Other people have those tablets where you can write by hand and organize it and buy one of those tablets. Those seem like a great idea too. What do you do, Rob?
I'm pen and paper. So there's research actually on this where if people write it down, they remember it better. I think it's actually The Pen is Mightier Than the Keyboard is the name of the article, which is a great title, I think.
Points for the name.
Yeah, yeah. And so for me, yeah, it justifies buying fountain pens to my wife if I'm writing stuff with my pen and paper. But I will say, kind of individual differences, and in terms of getting stuff done, sometimes it's okay for an organization to force productivity tools on you because, like, I hate when people are like, oh, I don't use Outlook or I don't use Gmail, and you don't have a standard. And then it's like, how many emails are we generating trying to create a meeting? And so, in terms of getting work done, sometimes these productivity tools, it's fine if an organization just says, hey, we're all going to use Slack or we're all going to use X. That can simplify people's lives and give us more time. So, individual differences, but yeah, on average, pen and paper.
So I'm going to take one last question before I ask you each for a final tip E. So that's your warning. But Marissa asks, I'm a nurse leader on the healthcare side. How do you balance saying no when there are so many priorities being brought down as to do from the organization?
Marissa, this is a great question. And in healthcare, there are tons of initiatives being sent down. I talk about this as kind of the organization sometimes feeling like it has multiple personalities. They're telling you to do things that conflict with one another. And this is a real place for negotiation, for really sitting down with leadership and laying out for them. They don't probably even realize how many things, initiatives they've asked you to do, and have them prioritize. Or say, this is how we could kind of. I have the opportunity to do, to with my nurses that are below me. I can focus on two things this month. Which of these five things do you are the highest priority for you? Because otherwise, you can make that decision because you just don't have the time to do everything. But then they can come back to you and say, "Well, why did you choose this versus that?" When you want their buy-in to where you're going to focus and what they think is most important.
All right. Well, as you can see in the chat, you were both on this season of the Tippie Leads podcast, and I asked you each for a final tip E there, but we do that here as well. So you can either double down on the same tip E or provide us with something new. Since we started with Rob, let's start with Michele, and then Rob can wrap us up.
Sounds good. So I'm going to stick with my tippy, which is you have to say no to the good to be able to say yes to the great. Don't fill up your calendar with so many things that people have just asked you to do randomly that when that good opportunity comes along, you just you don't have room to take advantage of it.
I'll stick with my recommendation that I gave in that podcast, which is it's important to know when enough is enough. All too often we try and just optimize and it's like, oh, I'm going to run a marathon. Oh, I need to run an ultra marathon. Oh, and so it's when it's okay to say, I've got enough. And so to tie it in with the University of Iowa, there's a story of Vonnegut and Joseph Hellyer who wrote Catch 22. Vonnegut was, for a couple of years, he was a poet here, a lecturer of poetry. And Vonnegut, they're at this house, and it's like a millionaire's house, and they're all looking around. And Vonnegut's like, "My gosh, look at this! This guy's made so much money. He's made more than you're ever going to make on royalties, Joseph." And then Joseph's like, "Yeah, but I've got one thing he doesn't have." And then Vonnegut's like, "What's that?" And Hellyer says, "I know when enough is enough." And so it's okay to say, "I've got enough. I'm doing great," and then you try and figure out, okay, how am I going to optimize the next thing?
Well, thank you both. And again, I would encourage folks to go find those 2 episodes of Tippie Leads. They're out now. We have a few more coming up. You can find those on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, this very webinar will be there shortly as well. Next up, as mentioned, we're celebrating National Small Business Month by highlighting Tippie alums doing big things with their small businesses. You'll learn to navigate the journey from startup to scale and small business impact, or small business big impact, with Bob Walker from the John Papajohn Entrepreneurial Center and a panel of alumni founders. They're going to share practical strategies. You won't want to miss this. It's Tuesday, May 19th at noon, and the sign up just popped over there into the chat. Speaking of things that will pop up right after the webinar, a brief survey will appear in your browser. Please take a moment to share your feedback to help us enhance future programs. Again, big thanks to Rob and Michele for helping us to be the CEOs of our calendars. On behalf of everyone at Tippie, thanks for joining us, and go Hawks. This has been Tippie Leads, a podcast from the University of Iowa's Tippie College of Business. To learn more about our faculty guests, their research, and more, go to tippie.uiowa.edu/Tippie Leads. If you like this episode, share it with a friend or coworker. Or better yet, subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you like to get your podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. And if you're feeling generous, consider leaving us a rating or review to help others find the show. This is Nick Westergaard signing off. On behalf of everyone at Tippie, thanks for listening, and go Hawks!